And welcome into another episode of the Varsity Voices podcast, where our content is so good, people take it and claim that it's theirs.
That's a fact, by the way.
This is our pregame segment. It's brought to you by Oxford Falls. Oxford Falls and Sizemore Catering. Free shipping on all orders over $100. You can check them out at theoxfordfalls.com. They got all kinds of marinades, sauces. I'm telling you, that comeback sauce is awesome. If you're getting ready for a tailgate, you definitely need some Oxford Falls. But we're excited for another episode here on the Varsity Voices podcast, and we have the regular crew coming in with us. The voice of the Germantown Mavericks, Jared Schatz.
So I want to really get everybody's motor churning. I've got a really deep question. Why do we drive on a parkway and park on a driveway? It's getting deep here, folks.
I'm about to think about that one.
That's like some Dr. Seuss stuff, or maybe like a Laffy Taffy joke or something. I don't know, but we'll think about it. We'll put that one on the back burner. Brandon Davis is also with us, and we're glad that Brandon and Jared are still friends after the game last week.
I love shots, but 7-0 against Germantown, baby. It feels good. Also want to congratulate my dear friend Richard Russo, North Panola. Got his first win as the head coach at North Panola over Byers last week. So good job, my friend.
Congratulations to Coach Russo. Big fan of the big friend and fan of the podcast. Also, the best hair in the business is back with us. The voice of the Brandon Bulldogs, Jake Wimberly.
Hey, speaking of hair, I want to go ahead and start. Let's find the coach in Mississippi who has the best hair. Who has the best hair? Head football coach, regardless of MAIS or MHSAA in the state of Mississippi. Let's find them. Send in those submissions. We want to know.
You hear it? There it is right there. We're talking high school. I did see a coach from Mississippi Gulf Coast who had an Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, fantastic mullet. I mean, it was awesome. So we're looking for the best hair, whether you got a mohawk, a faux hawk, a mullet, you got braids, Willie Nelson
Everything.
Style, whatever you got, send it to us. State Champ Radio on X or Twitter, or State Championships Radio Network on Facebook. And also Caleb Hamill, our producer, is on with us. He had a great game last week in Jones County. We'll get to that here in a little bit, but Caleb, welcome into the podcast.
Yeah, that was a great game, but man, the other one that had my eyes was one that it involved two different teams that had direct ties to Brookhaven and Madison Central. Brookhaven, I went to school there till I was in 8th grade, and Madison Central is where the diploma came from. I texted my friend that was the play-by-play announcer for Brookhaven. I said, who should I cheer for? He can say, go with your heart, Old Brook. He was right. Should have done it. But congratulations to Old Brook knocking down a 7A opponent.
Yeah, we'll get to that one here in a little bit in our first quarter. But I had a fun story. This is a great Breck Riley story coming out of the ball game, and I'll keep it PG-ish. And so I'm packing up. And I have a lot of stuff. My color commentator helps carry out stuff for me, but we have a lot of stuff. So I'm going and I get to my car and I put everything up after the broadcast. And here comes a family. It's a mom, like a grandmama and a baby, a toddler. And then there's someone else walking by him. And the toddler's full on Winnie the Pooh. Shirt, diaper, that's it. Shirt, diaper, no shoes. The lady over here says, Hey, you better put some shoes on because it's gravel, right? We have gravel parking lot. You better put some shoes on. And the grandmother says, he won't do it. He won't wear pants and he won't wear shoes. And I turned around and said, I wouldn't either if they didn't make me. And I told him, when he does it, it's cute. When I do it, y'all call the cops. So enjoy it, little man. I told him just to, enjoy it while he can, because I don't know what the age is where it stops being cute and starts being creepy. I don't know, but it was.
Are you trying to tell us you're not wearing shoes or pants right now?
No, I'm good. I got shoes. I don't have shoes.
Okay.
The moral of the story that I got is lock your kids up.
There you go.
No.
Tyler Hood, roughest hood I've ever been in.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I told him, I said, I'm actually jealous, man. I wish I could do that. But we had a fun show prepared for you guys and gals today. So we're going to step aside for a break. When we come back, we will jump right into our first quarter. You're listening to the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire.
At C Spire, we've never waited on the future. We've built it. By harnessing the power of advanced technology to transform how we all live and work. Elevating connected living. accelerating tomorrow's business growth, and leading the AI revolution, all while staying true to our core purpose. You think we're done? Just wait. There's more to see. C Spire. Customer inspired.
She had a good coach that pointed her in the right direction, and we were able to get to her quick enough, and she's young and healthy enough that she's going to have a great outcome.
I would say the biggest difference is just how Dr. Moss explained everything. I went into my second surgery knowing exactly what after surgery was going to look like, what during surgery was going to look like, and it just made me feel a lot more comfortable and confident with my outcome.
He takes the snap, looking down the middle of the field, now looks left, airs it out towards the end zone, he's got a man, caught! Touchdown!
Touchdown, South Jones, Anquan Jackson, unbelievable in the back corner of the end zone.
This place is beyond bonkers. South Jones leads 37-35 with 18 seconds left.
Welcome back into the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire. This is our first quarter, and our first quarters are brought to you by Mississippi Sports Medicine. From game day injuries to everyday aches, Mississippi Sports Medicine is trusted by Ole Miss athletes, schools across the state, and more than half of Mississippi's total joint replacement patients. All right, so as we always do there in the first quarter, we're going to take a look back and have our reactions and overreactions, and we're going to start off with the top 10. Number 1 in the state continued to roll. Tupelo goes and takes on another team from Tennessee, beats another team from Tennessee 45-7. Next up, it was number 2, Brandon, getting a win over Clinton 14-9. Jake Wimberly was on the call for that one. We'll get his thoughts on the Bulldogs win.
Hi, guys. I mean, look, a defensive ball game. Glad to be with you guys today, as always. A defensive football game. Clinton, very good up front. Brandon, I know you saw them a couple weeks ago. They just got a really good front seven. For Brandon, it's about trying to find some rhythm offensively. They still are lacking some pieces and some rhythm. Tyson Robinson is still not back. He should be back in a couple of weeks. But I mean, you gotta tip your cap to both of those teams. Played very hard. Brandon's winning these close games. Got to go to Clay Chalkville. We'll talk about that later on in the show. This is going to be a very, very tough week for Brandon. That's a very, very good team they're going to play. But I mean, look, you get to 2-1, you continue to, get this young offensive line, to grow, and then you get some of these young players, a lot of playing time. So a lot of positives to find. And look for Clinton, they're going to be right there. I think that they're going to be a fun one to watch in this Region 2 7A race.
You got to win the games that are in front of you. That's all you can do, right? And next up, it was number 3, West Point, getting a little bit closer of a game than I think we all thought. They win that one against Noxubee County, another Golden Triangle Classic up there, 27-20. And West Point had really showed no signs of, chinks in the armor or anything. Not saying they did, but Brandon, this one was a little bit closer than, we all thought after they whooped up on Starkville last week.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this. I think schools are going to take the game plan that Teddy Young had against West Point, and they're going to use it against the Green Wave the rest of the season. This was a game, man, where it was tied 20 apiece late in the fourth quarter, and West Point had to stop Noxubee deep in their own territory on downs to get the ball to go down the field to win this ball game 27-20. But what Noxubee did is they just worked the perimeter all night long, and they pulled the defenders up, and then they would just hit you across the middle with some quick runs and various types of plays. But Teddy Young was phenomenal in this game. It's one of those games you hate anybody lost, but I know Brett Morgan's going to probably look back at this. There's a lot that they can learn, but if I'm a team that's playing West Point, I want to do the same type of plan of what Teddy Young and Noxubee did, and may have some success against the Green Wave.
Yeah, you got to figure out the Green Wave somehow because they are rolling. And the team that could eventually run into the Green Wave, it would have to be in Starkville in early December, is Brookhaven. And Brookhaven got a big upset win over number 4 Madison Central. Old Brook took the Jaguars out 20-17. Jared, that's a pretty big upset.
Yeah, I would say so. How about Old Brook? It's been a while since they've been, on the stage and everybody's taking notice. Well, if they weren't taking notice before, they are now. A football team that's undefeated. They really got after the quarterback in this ball game, 4 sacks in the contest, and really had a terrific effort from Jacoby Washington. He picked up one of those sacks, forced a fumble, made 10 tackles, a couple of those behind the line of scrimmage. Just an all-out great team effort, especially defensively. And Brookhaven in overtime gets the win, one of the better ball games, 20-17. Old Brook gets the W.
Now we look into the 6A ranks, and the defending champs Grenada didn't have any problems. They're number 5 in the state. They shut out Callaway 28-0. And then we go down to the Mississippi Gulf Coast for our next game. You look at Picayune, the Maroon Tide getting a win over Biloxi 23-14. Brandon, another good one down there on the Mississippi Gulf Coast.
There's a lot of good football teams on the coast this year. I don't think a lot of, especially Metro North are realizing. And this was another one, like you said, Breck. Picayune starts this game. They fumble the ball. Biloxi gets it. And Jordan Ramsey, their quarterback, he has a long pass to Azarian McGee. They go up 7-0. Picayune was able to go in at the half up 9-7. And then in the second half, it's just the Maroon Tide, their rushing attack. Xavier Dennis and Jamari Hawthorne both really took over. We've talked about it every week. It seems like they're in these tight games where their offense and defensive line takes over. That was the case this week as well. Picayune wins 23-14. But again, some very good teams on the coast playing good football right now.
Yeah, and one of those teams, the Greyhounds of Ocean Springs, they get a win over Pascagoula, a close ball game, 21-14. And Jake, I know you see Ocean Springs every year. We like to get your thoughts on what's going on with the Greyhounds.
Look, they've been right there. I mean, and look, they're a team that they feel like they belong. I mean, they really do, and rightfully so. 2 out of the last 3 years they played for South, 7A last year, and then 6A 2 years prior. So when you look at the program and their coaching staff, they've done a really good job. They haven't really fallen off. They've kind of been the class of Region 4 7A. That's a good win for them against a really good Pascagoula team, this past weekend. So they're a team definitely to watch. I think that if you're in Region 3. And, you're having to travel in the playoffs to Ocean Springs, that's a very tough place to do. You don't want to have to make that trip. You want to have them come to you if all possible. But that's a really good football team. They're going to be with us all year long, I think.
And Starkville, number 8, had no problems bouncing back after losing to West Point. They put it on Meridian 44-6. And then we go back to South Mississippi, sort of the Pine Belt area, and another upset down there in that area. But I don't know if you really want to call it an upset because it's Columbia, and they're a powerhouse program, and they're rolling this year, Brandon. But Columbia gets a 32-7 win over number 9 Petal.
I call it an upset because Petal being a 7A program playing down to a 4A school as Columbia, and you are right, Breck, they're great, but 2 weeks I have picked Petal or have been in Petal's corner and they have let me down, so I don't think Marcus Broyles wants me picking them again. But this was a game where I don't know if Petal got off the bus in the first half. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Columbia came out throwing and running. Clyde Peters, their quarterback, a dual threat kid that we haven't heard a lot about and hadn't seen much of, but he was phenomenal in the first half. Ashton Daniels, the running back, was great as well. Columbia went up 20-0 in the first half, and they were able to dominate this game. I think it was 26-7 at halftime, and they were able to, like you said, Breck, they were able to close this one out 32-7. But Bilderback being back at Columbia, that they're a team in 4A that it's going to be hard not to pick them in the south part of 4A.
I just think it's really cool that those are the 2 teams from that ball game whose coaches came back.
Right.
And Bilderback, man, they're rolling. And Marcus Broyles, this was supposed to be the sleeper team that, as you said, I think it's an upset as well. But this was supposed to be that next stepping stone year to really get them competing again for South State. And Columbia is like, oh, we got our coach back too. We'll just kind of derail you a little bit. So I thought that was a fascinating matchup with these 2 teams having their old ball coach back.
Yeah.
And we'll round out the top 10 with a rivalry game. Not much of a game up there in the Crosstown Classic. Oxford takes care of business against Lafayette 63-20. So that wraps up the top 10. We got a few more teams to talk about, but first we want to tell you that the best teams know how to get even better. You can see how C Spire constantly enhances their wireless, fiber, internet, and business solutions for you. C Spire, customer inspired. Another game that was talked about a lot last week, and I don't want anybody to throw anything at me, but We had Germantown and Warren Central. So once again, we're just going to throw it to those two, Brandon and Jared, and you guys. This is like Judge Judy court or something. Everybody make their pitches here.
I'll say this. I'll start. I don't want to beat a horse while it's down. That was a beat down. Warren Central went up 28-0 in the first half. Germantown fought back. It was 28-7. And then coming in the second half, what I thought was crazy is that in the second half, there was 58 points scored. Warren Central finally wins this one 52-41. And some of the highlights, Nash Morgan, quarterback for Warren Central, was 11 carries for 188 yards and 3 touchdowns. Also, we had 2 sophomore backs that rushed for combined 28 carries for almost 190 yards and 2 touchdowns. Warren Central had 491 yards of offense. 401 of that was on the ground. And the defense, with 10 new starters and a backup to the backup middle linebacker, our backup middle linebacker tore his knee earlier in the week, so he was out. So we had another sophomore middle linebacker in there. It was a dominant performance. But I'll say this, Shots. I joked last week about the mental capacity and Germantown being a mentally strong team. I said they weren't, joking around, but I saw something out of this bunch that I really liked. I mean, when it was 28-0, they could have just got on the bus and went home at halftime, but those guys fought, and this was a game until the very end that Warren Central had to scrap, fight, and claw to win, because I thought in the third quarter they got it back to 28. It was 28-21 in the third quarter. Germantown clawed back into it. I had a lot of respect for them being able to fight, but that is a loaded team. And I'll be honest with you, I am very surprised that they allowed Warren Central get up on them 28-0.
Shell shocked. I mean, watching that ball game 28-0, because Warren Central's still young. I mean, this is a very veteran Germantown team, especially on the offensive side of the football. But 28-0, a 66-yard pass to start that ball game, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, big play there. That's not typical Warren Central to go through the air for 66 yards to start a ball game. But man, and then the ground and pound started. And I will tell you something. If Warren Central can, look, Josh Morgan's one of the best defensive coaches in the state of Mississippi. If he can get that young group to start believing and knowing exactly where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there, watch out. Grenada, everybody putting you on notice.
I agree.
Because when you have Nash Morgan running that offense, and boy, young man's still running after Friday night, with 401 rushing yards between he and the 2 backs, that is a dangerous football team. That offensive line was wrecking people. If they can get the defensive personnel to know where they're supposed to go, watch out. And kudos to Germantown for fighting back. I know they've got some issues on the defensive front they'll have to fix.
Yeah, but I was surprised. I mean, it was a good ball game, a lot of fun. I mean, it's one you hate to call because it was back and forth. But kudos to Germantown. I mean, they fought the entire night.
I'm just glad we're all still friends here in the chat.
Yeah,
everybody's okay.
I even gave Brandon his shirt before the ball game. Look at
he did. Look, I don't even have one. Me and Wimberly don't even have our shirts.
They're coming. They're coming. I got to get all the players of the week, and then I ran into Davis. You boys, you're on my list. I hate to say it, you're a little lower than the players
down the
list.
list.
Yeah.
Y'all just calm down. Y'all calm down.
Pull the money ball. There's good teams, bad teams, 50 feet of crap, and then there's Breck and Jake way down here. That's what this is.
At least you know where you rank, right?
You said it, man.
Self-aware. I'm rocking the Hawks, the bad guys from Mighty Ducks right there. So that's what I'm going with it. And on the back it says it's not worth winning if you can't win big. And I'll tell you a team that did win big, who needed a win, and that's Oak Grove. Oak Grove took out Hattiesburg 48-7. Who would have thought Hattiesburg, would have the problems they had? But, some of their players kind of banged up. And another one down in that area that our own Caleb Hamill was on the call for, South Jones and West Jones. Just an absolute great ball game there. South Jones gets the win 38-35, and Caleb wants to talk a little bit about that.
As I told everyone all week long that this was going to be one of the best matchups between West Jones and South Jones in the last decade, and I didn't know how right I was going to be with that one, but it lived up to the hype. South Jones got the game tied up right before halftime with a touchdown and 2-point conversion, 21 all before going into the break. Wes Jones came out with a punch to start the second half, an 80-yard touchdown run on the first play from scrimmage to go up 28-21. And after that, it was just a back-and-forth affair. South Jones got a lead on a field goal in the fourth quarter. Wes Jones would go the length of the field, score a touchdown to take a 4-point lead. At that point, it was 35-31. South Jones with 2 minutes maybe left in the game, a drive down, get it to about the 13-yard line or so. And Anquan Jackson, this is a name that you're going to be hearing about, had all 4 touchdowns for South Jones at this point. During that drive, comes off the field cramping after making a completion and got tackled. And is just trying to loosen it up. South Jones doesn't have a lot of clock to burn. They only had 1 timeout left. They finally take it. And Coach Harrington of South Jones turns to him and goes, "Hey, can you go?" All Anquan said was, "Throw me the ball." 2 plays later, they did just that, and with 18 seconds left, he catches the game-winning touchdown, and they win it 38-35 over Wes Jones. And that's the first time they've won in that rivalry since 2016. Oddly enough, back when Coach Corey Reynolds was at the helm at South Jones, and he's now at West Jones. So all in all, terrific ball game. The stands were electric on that last touchdown. And I joke with everybody that my laptop was hopping off the table about into my lap. It was rocking so hard there. And you may hear my clip later on in the broadcast, or in the podcast, I should say, tonight, because it was a little crazy. You'll hear it.
All right. Thanks, Caleb. And finally, in our first quarter, to wrap things up, the Brandon Davis from down around his neck of the woods, a rivalry game. Was it Battle for the Bell, right? Greene County
Battle
and George,
for the Bell.
And Greene County's hanging on to the bell.
Yeah, tight game down there, emotional game as you would expect with any type of a rivalry game. And Greene County came in with being the heavy favorite, probably better team on paper, but George County fought and scrapped them all night. And Wildcats able to come away with a 29-23 win in Larry Dolan's first year battling for the bell. So congratulations to my old stomping ground on taking care of business.
Well, there it is. That's our reactions and overreactions to week number 3 for some of the bigger schools, 7A, 6A, 5A. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to react and overreact to 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A, and some of the MAIS teams. So we'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire.
Hey, it's me, Gus the Gopher for Atmos Energy. I dig all around the yard. Occasionally, I bump into a utility line and get a headache. But if you hit one with your shovel, backhoe, or ditch digger, you could cause a gas leak, disrupt service, or worse. So call 811 at least 3 business days before you or someone else digs in your yard to have those underground utility-owned lines marked. It's free and it's the law. You dig what I'm saying? For more on safe digging, visit atmosenergy.com/811.
From the seed, and the soil grows row after row. We take care of this land, using just the right amount of our natural resources and never more than we need.
We are only one of thousands, but we are united as one to grow the food, fiber, and shelter you need every day. Because Mississippi needs us. Mississippi needs farmers, the farm families of Mississippi.
Wade looking to throw. Now he's going to run it himself. Winds up. Wide open is Roundtree. Diving. Caught. Touchdown. Tay Roundtree. A diving catch at the S in the Whippets logo.
Welcome back in to quarter number 2 with the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire. Our second quarters are brought to you by Atmos Energy. Call before you dig. And in the second quarter, we're still taking a look at last week and reactions and overreactions. We'll start off with the game that I got to see, Kosciuszko taking on Leake Central in a rivalry game. Boy, this was a fun game because, it's like 15 miles apart, and I was right. There were brothers on each team. They're stepbrothers. They weren't full brothers, but stepbrothers playing against each other. One of them was injured, unfortunately, but that's the kind of rivalry that this game is. And there's a whole lot of trash talk going on, but just a fun game to be a part of if you're a Kosciuszko, because Kosciuszko got a 49-7 win. And, Leake Central had come in with a high-powered offense, and Tylen Fortune, who's got, offers from Nebraska, Ole Miss, Arkansas State, places like that. Whippets really held him in check. As impressive as the Whippet offense has been, They're averaging 46 points a game. They scored 49, 42, 49. The Whippet defense to stop a high-powered offense like League Central, that's what impressed me. The starters still, I don't know if the starters have reached the fourth quarter. They might have played one down in the fourth quarter, but they have punted. They did have to punt one time in this ball game. It's 14-7, and the punt team did have to come out and punt for the first time. But Kosciuszko's still rolling. Got a big one this week, though. Then we'll talk about later on in the broadcast. Brandon,
how did my fullback do? That's all I care about.
Oh, Schuler. Want to know? He got a touchdown. Yeah. They did get an I formation a few times, so Schuler got a touchdown.
All that matters.
He got
That's
a touchdown.
Hey,
but the thing about Kosciuszko is they have so many options that Schuler wasn't even on the field that much. They could pull him out and put other guys in, but he's one of those guys that you can find him. He's a steady hands and a good runner, but he did have out of that fullback spot, he did have a touchdown.
Whoa, time out. There are kids right now confused, wondering what is an I formation.
Oh man,
what's that, huh?
The social media app. What are you talking about?
This is a family-friendly production. Don't get me saying curse words.
It's a beautiful thing, kids.
Yeah,
go watch some YouTube.
Artistic.
It is a beautiful thing because Kosciuszko gets that double tight end set, fullback, tailback, and they got some big boy football, so they can spread you out or they can run it over you. But
yeah, I was going to say, if you want to take it a step further, go look up the Maryland Eye. Even more fascinating.
Yeah, Brett Morgan and them run that up at West Point. It's artistic.
Coach Beautiful. Bobby Hall used to do it. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Poetry in motion is what we like to call the Maryland Eye. But we will stay in 4A, and a big one up in North Mississippi, New Albany and Itawamba AHS. Those are two teams in 4A North that are expected to be there. New Albany got upset last week by Senatobia, and then New Albany bounces back and gets a really close win, 38-35 over Itawamba. So that's how things are shaking out in 4A North. And then DeIberville is taking on Seminary. That was a good game. Seminary is a lot of people's sleeper pick in the South. In fact, Brandon, I think maybe me and you had Seminary as our sleeper in the South.
Yeah, I like Mitch Evans as head coach down there. He does a great job of running that program. He's only been there, I think, 2 years, and he's doing a great job keeping it going. DeIberville, though, they're established. There's just too much, and they're another one of those teams, Jake, down in 7-8 that is going to make some noise. And I'll tell you a kid we need to keep an eye on, KJ Washington. He's one of the defensive linemen. He's built at 6'4", 200 pounds. He already has 10.5 tackles for loss this season and 5.5 sacks. I think he had 5 tackles for loss the other night against Seminary. So with their rushing attack down there, Jordan Wiley at quarterback's doing a great job, and they're running the ball as well and playing good defense. DeIberville's going to be a team we got to keep an eye on when playoffs roll around.
No, I agree with that. I mean, look, they made the playoffs, I believe, last year. They got knocked out in the first round. That Wally name, if that's familiar, I mean, he comes from a long line of guys. I think one played at Michigan State. He had a brother played at Mississippi State. So, I mean, it's a tradition-rich family, the Wally family. But yeah, DeIberville, they'll be in the playoffs this year, and of course, we'll see how far they can get. I don't think that they can win Region 4, but they'll be a competitor there for sure.
Yeah, they're going to make noise.
A couple of the smaller school ranks to look at. You had East Webster and Biggersville. Biggersville's fresh off of another upset of Tishomingo County, a bigger school. They're no match for East Webster. 54-14. East Webster. They are rolling. They whooped up on Nanawaya a few weeks ago. A good 1A team.
They're a problem. They're a problem. East Webster's a problem.
I definitely agree. They're going to make some noise there. Morton and Scott Central here locally in the central Mississippi area. Morton gets the win 14-3. And then Raleigh's a team that all of us kind of talked about in our season preview. We might have a little something to say in late November, early December. But they whoop up on Taylorsville 46-0. And much like I said last week about Starkville and West Point, no one was going to be shocked that West Point beat Starkville. You're shocked at the score and how much of a beating it was. Kind of the same thing here, man. You think about Taylorsville, they're the only 1A team in our top 10 programs of all time, and they've had a rough go of it late, Jared.
Yeah, I mean, we always hear about this in college football. It's like, well, the sport is so much better when this blue blood program is good, and a lot of us agree on that. It's sometimes fun to watch them hurt for a little while, especially if it's a team you don't like in the college ranks. But the same applies to high school. Taylorsville, man, a proud program. I know they have a new coach, new system. Thought it would take a couple of ball games for them to kind of get it out of their system and get comfortable with what they're doing, but they are struggling. And look, Raleigh, we talked about that defense to pitch a shutout versus Taylorsville. I mean, that defense is for real, and they're one of my sleepers, but Taylorsville's got some issues, guys.
Yeah. And it's, I don't understand it. I mean, and I know that entire community down there is just wringing their hands. Their defense has given up 31 points a game so far. And offensively, they've scored 21 points. So they're averaging 7 points a game. And that I don't know. I mean, I know that Adrian Agee he's new, but I know that's a program that it's tough. It's tough, like you said, Jared. It's tough for football in Mississippi when Taylorsville struggling the way they are right now.
It is. And, you really trying, I'm just sitting here looking back through some of the years at Taylorsville while we're talking. And, this has kind of been something with it's kind of been a downward trend over the last few years for them. And you look at, they've got some seniors that are playing quarterback and wide receiver. And so you have to start asking, is it a numbers game? Is it, what is it down there? Because typically this program doesn't perform at this level. Maybe there's some youth in other places because I haven't laid my eyes on them, and maybe they're young along the offensive front or defensive front. There's a lot that could go into why they're struggling, but there's no doubt they are due a win and need a win this week if they can get it.
And we'll round out the MHSAA portion of the second quarter, looking at a few teams. Eupora defeats Ethel 44-14. We had talked about that one. Ethel had gotten off to a good 2-0 start, playing up in some competition, beating a 3A and a 2A. A little bit too much firepower for Eupora, and that was a big one because Coach Junior Graham is the head coach at Ethel, and he won a state championship at Eupora. I do know Ethel had one of their main players out that week. That game he was sick, but that's a tough loss for the Ethel Tigers. But then another one, McAdams, the Bulldogs going 2-0. McAdams winning 28-21 over JZ George. I don't remember the last time McAdams, the Bulldogs, have been 2-0, and so props to Coach T.D. Grays. I'll say this, in our Kosciuszko video stream, we had people updating the McAdams score in the comments. They were all excited about, because this is right down the road from us. It's here in Italic County, so there were people updating the McAdams score in the comments. So folks are excited about the McAdams Bulldogs. And Jared, when you have a team like that hasn't had some success, the community really does come out and support.
Well, Breck, when Kosciuszko's just whipping up on people, I mean, yeah, they've got to find some other entertainment. So there's McAdams in the comments. I mean, with Kosci doing so well, you can't keep anybody's attention, so they've got to go find it elsewhere. But that's fantastic that all the teams in the area are doing well.
Yeah, and I saw it on social media. They're all excited about homecoming. They got that coming up. And in fact, on the day that we recorded this, I went and watched Ethel's homecoming parade. And that's one of the most American things you can do, right, is see the fire trucks and police cars riding down the road. And somebody was on a tractor. There was a tractor pulling some kids on a trailer. And obviously everybody's throwing candy, right? And there's a band. I mean, it's just fun. Little small town homecoming parades like that. It doesn't get any more American. And on a Sunday afternoon, and just a fun time to be able to go out and do that. Maybe we can get some footage in at some point throughout the broadcast. But that is a look at MHSAA. There were some private school MAIS games that went on, and Jake, one of them there in the Jackson area was a big one. We thought it might be a close game. Jackson Prep and Tri-County. Tri-County's won 75 championships in a row, however many it is. They've won a lot. We thought that maybe Tri-County had an opportunity, but Prep just a little bit too much firepower, 45-6 over Tri-County.
Yeah, both of these really good programs represent their classifications very well. We know that. And, it probably comes down to a numbers thing here for Tri-County. Not as many guys as what Jackson Prep has. But look, I had a chance to go over and visit with Prep this summer, and they had said, hey, look, we're going to be a very young football team. They did not return a single starter defensively. Most of the offensive starters were new. A lot of team speed. They like the athleticism. So it may be that this Prep team is starting to find itself, which it would be very, very, dangerous for the others in that league. But 45-6. I mean, they really took some frustration out there. It's been a tough few weeks for Jackson Prep, but they may have kind of, figured some things out. In Tri-County, they're going to be fine. They'll play for their championship this year. Again, Breck, probably for the 17,000th time.
Yeah, they've been there a lot.
Didn't I thought I heard this, and it's amazing if it's true. Didn't Prep graduate 20 of 22 starters?
Yeah, I believe it was right there in that number for
Gosh,
sure.
That's insane.
They were one of the youngest teams for any team in the state of Mississippi coming into this season.
Wow.
And I'm with Jake. I think that ball game's going to benefit. We know what Tri-County is going to do at their level. Watch out for Prep. Prep, Madison Central, some of these teams, Warren Central, you better get them early. I mean, there were a select few that we named, in our preseason show. You better get them early. Prep being one of those.
Yeah, you just ticked Tri-County off like they needed that.
Yeah, exactly. Another team I think you got to watch out for is Park Lane. Park Lane, they're won 35-12 over Oak Forest, and as I've said ad nauseum on here, I was on the field last week when they hung 70 on a very good League Academy team in the state championship who had George Wilcox, and so that Park Lane team I think has an opportunity to make some noise.
Yeah, you're right. They're going to make serious noise, and a lot of their players that we had in our preseason, our preseason select team for MAIS, one being Davis Caruth at wide receiver and also Braxton Hughes. And last week against Oak Forest, they had 241 yards passing and 202 yards rushing. So Ron Rushing has a balanced attack going on down there, and that is a very dangerous team that really I think is overlooked in MAIS.
Yeah, they got Prep early, and that ball game, might have been a little different later in the season, but to get that first win over Prep in 30 years, and I know they got a couple of more dragons they want to slay, but watch out for Park Lane. They're playing consistently right now.
And one 1A game that kind of got pushed to the wayside under the papers over here that I definitely didn't want to pass up, and it was in our pick'em this week. That was Calhoun City and Winona. That was one of our pick'ems for the lower classification. Calhoun City dropping down to 1A, and Winona traditionally very good ball club. They played some up in classification and played some teams close, but no match for Calhoun City. They continue to roll, guys, 42-33. And it makes me want to ask, is anybody that can challenge Calhoun City in 1A?
Doesn't look like it right now, does it? I mean, somebody will come out of the fray there, but right now they're playing really good football.
They're dangerous. We talked about it. MD Jennings is a great coach, and they have kids up there. They dropped down in classification, but they didn't drop down in size of football team. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out with them and Biggersville and other teams from the north.
Yeah. Right now they're the most impressive early in the year, so it's going to take somebody to stay healthy and get consistent and get hot at the right time.
Well, that's right. And we want to remind you that fast speed wins games, and it's why C Spire delivers fiber home internet, nationwide 5G wireless, and business solutions to help you reach the goal in record time. C Spire, customer inspired. And right now, we'll take a look at some guys this week that were crucial in their teams winning their games, and sometimes they didn't even win the game, but they still had good performances. We're looking at someone like Anquan Jackson from South Jones, 16 carries for 105 yards and 3 touchdowns, had 6 receptions for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. And you look at someone like Zane Hill up at Regents School in Oxford. I think they're playing their very first season of football, or maybe above to regular football. And Zane Hill goes 30 for 50. That's right, 30 for 50, 542 yards, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and they lose to Carroll Academy 60-58. And you're thinking, well, what kind of stat line could be better than that for player of the week? Well, we're going to have one for you, and we would like to name our Farm Families of Mississippi Player of the Week. Remember, Mississippi needs farmers, and this is one that it reached Max Preps, like the official legit Max Preps account was putting out information and videos from Ty Keys. 17 carries, 546 yards, and 8 touchdowns for Poplarville in just an absolute great game against Hancock. So Ty Keys is our Player of the Week, presented by Farm Families of Mississippi. Guys, I had that interview with D. Watson talking last week. He was our Player of the Week last week, and he ran for 400 and something yards. Ty Keys runs for 546 yards. I would still be icing my legs if I ran for 546 yards.
Look, what he's done and what he can, even prior to this guy was really instrumental in what they did last year to win the state championship. He is going to put this team right back on his back, obviously, this year. I mean, 546 yards, 17 carries, and 8 touchdowns. There are kids that, or there are teams that will not have 8 rushing touchdowns this year. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, you really can't wrap your head around this performance. Unbelievable job.
It's one of those, we see these every week, really good ones. That's the first one I've seen like that maybe ever, only on 17 carries. I mean, that's insane. And then the 8 touchdowns. Hats off to that young man. And Jake said it. I mean, he is so valuable to that team. And look, they do it's a run-friendly offense, the throwback offense, but he's a very modern player when you watch him in that offense. He stands out.
And they needed every touchdown that he had because Kason Kanan, a quarterback from Hancock that we've talked about, he had 7 touchdowns in the game as well. And Takis carried them to victory, and you said it, shots, 17 carries. That's 32 yards a carry. That's insane. So, congratulations to that young man. Well,
every 2 carries, he almost got in the end zone. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah, no.
Hats off to both those young men and all of our performers of the week. We have some outstanding performances in the state of Mississippi, and definitely, if we missed you, send them to us. We definitely want to get those.
Yes, find us on X or Twitter at State Champ Radio or on Facebook, State Championships Radio Network. Find us, get us your film, and let us know what you did. We definitely want to include you in our performers of the week, if not our player of the week, which is presented by Farm Families of Mississippi, and you'll get some swag. Unlike me and Jake, you'll get a good shirt. Jared will send you a shirt. He won't send me and Jake a shirt, but he'll send you a shirt for Farm Families of Mississippi, and that's from College Corner Store. They're going to hook us up with some shirts. They have locations in Oxford, Ridgeland, and Flowood, and so you're going to get a shirt before we will. So just feel good about about that. But that does wrap up our second quarter here on the Varsity Voices podcast. We're going to take a break at halftime, and then in the second half, we're going to take a look at some upcoming games for this week. We'll be back after this. So the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire.
Elegance is in the details. Pine Straw America's premium longleaf pine straw subscription ensures your landscape stays pristine season after season. Precision edging, flawless installation, because your home deserves nothing less. Pine Straw America.
Delicious, savory barbecue doesn't happen by accident, and great wings don't happen by accident either. Whether you're heating up the smoker or firing up the grill, the award-winning crafted in Mississippi finishing sauces and marinades of the Oxford Falls makes every meal a masterpiece and every bite unforgettable. The Oxford Falls helps make every mouth-watering meal one to remember. Shop now at theoxfordfalls.com and get free shipping on orders over $100.
Every job starts with the right equipment. At Empower Rental Group, we've got what it takes to get you moving fast. Empower Rental Group has it all to get the job, large or small, done right. From pickup to delivery, we're your trusted local rental partner. Rent online at renterg.com. That's renterg.com. Or come by and talk to our friendly team today. Empower Rental Group, built for the job.
And this is a run for JJ, and he runs through 2 tackles now inside the 30. He's still upright, 20, 10, 5. Here he goes into the end zone one more time. JJ Hill. Flash of the lights again inside this stadium.
Welcome back to the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire. It's after halftime. It's our third quarter where we will look to games for this week. And this third quarter is brought to you by Empower Rental Group. You deserve a better rental experience. RentERG.com. And we like to kick off the second half by talking to you about our studio. That's brought to you by Environment Masters, hassle-free plumbing, electrical, and AC. Visit him at environmentmasters.com. Brandon, we always love to know what's on the whiteboard back there and what's been the debate this week.
Yeah, drawing board this week. I've had a lot of debate. Started out with our own Jake Wimberly getting on me about not having Miami Vice on best TV show theme songs. As you can see, in my opinion, Cheers, the Jefferson Dukes of Hazzard, and you see the honorable mention over here as well. I did go back and add Miami Vice because I know that Jake is all about the hair. Also added Magnum PI because I figure he's kind of the Tom Selleck looking guy as well. But yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong. And I've had people telling me that I was wrong. Andy Griffith should be on the other side, not honorable mention. And I can't debate that. But great debate. We appreciate it. I want to hear your thoughts. But in my opinion is the only one that counts right now. Cheers is the best theme song. So if you don't like it, kick rocks. Nope, nothing personal, Jake. It's just
I like Cheers, but Sanford and Sons for me. That's mine.
Yeah, Sanford and Son. You were right by having them on the list, but
yeah, I mean
you got to have them number one.
Yeah, but a lot of fun doing these. We were doing these throughout the week, doing these throughout the season. If you have a suggestion, we've done cereals, we've done this. I'll have another one next week. If you have a suggestion on what we should debate, send it my way and we will put it on the board and for our weekly drawing board discussion.
Yeah. In my studio, I like to add the media pass I got this week from Holmes Community College or from Coahoma Community College for my Holmes broadcast. They hooked me up and I put the Holmes Community College helmet back up because Holmes got the first win of the season. But that's our Environment Master Studios. We all take great pride in what we have in our studios, and all the teams this week taking great pride in the games that they're going to be involved in. And one of those games we want to talk about is Brandon at Clay Chalkville, Alabama. And our own Jake Wimberly is going to be on the call for that one. So, Jake, what do you expect out of going over to Alabama this week?
Guys, this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough. We're going to uncharted territory. Brandon's only been out of state one time in the history of their program. We went down to South Louisiana about 2019 and lost a very close one to one of the better teams in the state of Louisiana. This time, having to go over to Clay Chalkville. Let me just give you some numbers real quick on Clay Chalkville. They're 4-0. They have won their ball games 42-15, 64-0, 52-9, and 50-0. And look, when you cut the tape on, this looks like a John Carr Starkville offense on steroids. They get after it. So for Brandon to be in this game, one, they're going to have to continue to play really good defense and try to slow them down, but they're going to have to put up points, something they haven't done a lot this year. I mean, 15 points against Tupelo, 17 against Madison Central, 14 last week. It's not going to cut it. So they're going to have to get on the horse this week. It's an uphill battle for Brandon this week for sure.
Yeah, and another one that our Brandon's going to be on is going to be at the River City Classic, Warren Central and Vicksburg, and Brandon, that's always a fun game down there in River City.
Tight game. And yeah, you're right, Breck. Warren Central's won this game 13 years straight. If they want to win it for the 14th year in a row, they're going to have to lean on the offensive line like we saw last week against Germantown. Vicksburg, they're 2-1 on the season. They went 0-10 last season, but they have a very salty defense, and one of their players that we need to keep an eye on, and we talked about him early in the season, is Jamichael Maxey, a quarterback, a dual threat kid that can get out on the edge, and they have a lot of backs. But, yeah, this is going to be a good one. Like I said, Warren Central won by 8 points last year, but in the previous 4 years, they won by a total of 4 points. So it's a tight ball game, and throw the records out the window when you play this game.
Big one's going to be happening there in the metro area, Jared. Northwest Rankin and Madison Central. It's always a fun game when those two square off.
Yeah, not far from each other. Madison Central 1-2. Just hard to believe, hard to fathom that when you read it out loud. How about Northwest Rankin 2-1? Both teams have played a very tough schedule early on in the non-district part of the season, but Madison Central coming off that tough loss against Brookhaven in overtime. Again, I commend the bigger schools. And I know Brookhaven's not that much smaller, but I commend the bigger schools for going on the road, playing these teams. And Brookhaven, a fantastic ball club, but Madison Central's defense has been really good, only allowing 14 points a ball game, but they were one of those teams that lost a lot of guys. This offense, really young, really having a longer time trying to gel and get an identity on offense. Meanwhile, Northwest Rankin, coming off a big win against Wayne County, only loss was 8 points at a very good Clinton team, who I think is really the sleeper of 7A right now. But their defense has been outstanding, only surrendering 17 points a ball game. It's going to be awfully tough for Madison Central against the Northwest Rankin team that a good quarterback in Phillipson, Hayden at running back, and then those weapons at wide receiver. Of course, Deshaun Dillon, one of those.
You mentioned Clinton, and they got a big one this week against Pearl, Jake. So that's kind of that Rankin County area over Hinds County as well. But that's always a big game when those two kind of link up, Clinton and Pearl.
No, it is. I would expect this to be a lower scoring ball game. I mean, Pearl's playing some good defense. They got the shutout over Florence this past week. And then, of course, Clinton, we saw them over at Brandon. I know Brandon Davis has seen them. They're very good defensively. They're young offensively. So this should be, a game again. I think maybe first 1 to 20 wins this game. And I really think it's going to be a low scoring, just, hey, get out of the way, because there's going to be a lot of shots taken, a very physical football game between these two programs.
And we'll look back at Brandon Davis's area of Mississippi. Greene County has taken on Van Cleve, a big one down there in South Mississippi, Brandon.
Yeah, I see this as a trap game for Greene County. They had an emotional win last week over our rival, George County. They have Gaucher coming up next week. And if you're Larry Dolan, you've got to make sure your team stays grounded. Van Cleve's 0-3 on the season, but they've had 2 really close losses. I know they went up to Richland and was beaten pretty bad. Their defense has struggled. They're giving up 38 points a game. And on the other side, Gage Stinson, the quarterback for Greene County, has been terrific. Of course, Jace Matthews is there as well. And Greene County's averaging 35 points a game. So I think if you're Larry Dolan, and you have to make sure that the Greene County stays grounded, because, again, like I said, you don't want them looking ahead next week to the big matchup against Gaucher.
And a big one up in the Golden Triangle, going to be Louisville and Starkville. Now, these teams play each other, every year, and both of these teams have played West Point. And we know the transitive property doesn't really work in football, right? Because West Point barely beats Louisville. It's a very close game. West Point, it's a big win over Starkville. But as I said, those things don't really work in high school sports. But Louisville, of course, we know what they do. They got Zayden Jernigan, the running back. They're going to pound it with him. Starkville's got Kingston Johnson. He had that big stat line against Oak Grove. So that's a really, really good game. They get the run heavy. Louisville against the pass heavy Starkville. And maybe Starkville can kind of shore up some things on defense there. And we know what the Louisville defense is capable of. But that's a fun game that we're all looking forward to in the Golden Triangle area. And another one down in South Mississippi. This is a battle of powerhouses, Jared. Ocean Springs and Picayune. That's a huge game.
Huge ball game. Ocean Springs 3-0, the Maroon Tide 3-0, and you've got Chalmers Berglund, the quarterback of Ocean Springs, and that salty Greyhound defense. They've got Solomon Baggett's a really good running back. Doesn't get a lot of love there, but 6 yards a carry, 5 touchdowns for Coach Bramlett's crew down there in Ocean Springs. But that defense only giving up 10 points a ball game. That's going to be a problem, not only for Picayune this weekend, but obviously for 7A in District 4. But talk about Picayune. And I know Brandon has talked about Coach Stogner, and I'm telling you, man, it's amazing what he does with an offensive line, even out of the same formation, the way they can change their blocking assignments and really their technique. It's really incredible. But here's what's most impressive, guys, about Picayune is, they used to have, 1 or 2 stud running backs. It'd be Dante Dowdell or Chris Davis or some of these beasts they have had down there for the Maroon Tide. But it's really a running back by committee this year. And again, it goes back to Coach Stogner and what he's able to do with that offensive line. But Ocean Springs, I know they're on the road, but that is going to be a war in the trenches and 2 really good defensive ball clubs.
Another one right around the South Mississippi area, Jake, is going to be Petal and Gulfport. Perennially 2 powers there. Gulfport has the transfer quarterback, but the Panthers coming off that upset loss to Columbia, maybe looking for some retribution. But yeah, it should be a good game down in South Mississippi.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, two teams that could be playoff teams. This could be the first of two meetings between the two, depending on how the regions shake out. As you mentioned, Petal looking for a bounce back game. Gulfport, look, they have put a lot of money. They put a lot of time and investment into this program. They want to be the best team, not only in the South, but they want to be the best team in 7A. And when you look at what they have been able to do with their football program, they've made strides as well. Much like Ocean Springs, they haven't made exactly the same strides, but Blake Pinnock is a really good football coach. I'm really interested to see how this one shakes out. I think this could be another 4-quarter ball game, and it could be one of those lights out ball games between two really good teams with two pretty darn good quarterbacks.
One team that we have previously talked about that Brandon Davis said was going to be a problem and going to, make some noise is the Iberville, and they're going to be taking on Pascagoula this weekend, Brandon. So that should be a good matchup as well.
Yeah, and for Pascagoula, Lewis Sims, I'm pretty sure he didn't think that they'd be 1-2 at this point. Win over Moss Point, then losing two close ones to Biloxi and Ocean Springs. You have the Iberville this week. Next week you have Gulfport before you go into a brutal region run. But for D'Iberville, for Pascagoula, they need Amari Jackson, the running back, to get on it and get after it. He's one of the better backs in the south part of the state. They need to lean on him, the offensive line. But for D'Iberville, a very balanced approach. We talked about that last week against Seminary. They had 190 yards passing, 181 rushing, 6 touchdowns on the ground. Chan Harvey, a running back, does a nice job for them. But KJ Washington, we've talked about him, 10.5 tackles for losses already for the defensive end. He's a difference maker. So another good game down on the coast this week.
Yeah, and Brandon, if Pascagoula can get some offense to go with that defense, they're going to be just fine.
They're going to be fine. But, looking at, like I said, this is a very tough schedule. And again, the coast schools are often overlooked for whatever reason. But you look at their schedule that they have. They played Ocean Springs. They got D'Iberville, then Gulfport. They open up region play against Picayune. Then they have Pearl River Central, Hancock, and Gaucher. So this is a tough schedule. But I think it's gonna help them down the road when they get into region play with what they played non-region.
And a big one that we need to talk about is Tupelo. Tupelo's kind of gone by the wayside, number one team in the state. They've gone out of state and had no problems winning against some Tennessee teams, but they're staying in state this week, Jared. And this is a good game up there in North Mississippi between Oxford and Tupelo. Should be I like this matchup. Should be a close one.
Well, it's funny you say that. Nobody talks about Tupelo because it's, already a foregone conclusion that they're just going to whip whoever they play. And then there's Oxford, man. And we've seen what Oxford under Coach Cutcliffe, what they can do. 2 3-0 teams. They actually switch districts this year. Oxford goes to District 2, Tupelo to District 1, but they're only 40 miles apart. But we know about Tupelo. Bully ball, they've only thrown, I looked at the stats, they've only thrown 14 passes this year, completed 4. And that's because they're trying to find a quarterback right now, and they've got J.J. Hill running the offense out of the Wildcat. Who needs to throw it when you have him running the Wildcat behind that massive offensive line? He's averaging 10 yards a carry. But then there's Kylan Bobo, who doesn't get the love he should. He's averaging 10 yards a run as well, 134 yards a ball game. He has 6 touchdowns, so it's pick your poison with that crew in the backfield. But here's the Oxford, I think, is the best team in the state that nobody's talking about. They're 3-0. They have the chess master and Chris Cutcliffe that we always talk about. I think he's one of the best X's and O's guys, especially on the offensive side. Quarterback Drew Dean's been really good, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. They've got a running back named Frierson who's averaging 9 yards a carry. I think it's the quietest 3-0 start in the state of Mississippi this year. I expect Oxford to hang around in this ball game for a little while. I really do.
Yeah, and a couple of other games we want to mention that are going to be pretty big on the schedule this week. You have Grenada and Cleveland Central. 6A, Grenada, obviously they favorites to go back, and Cleveland Central, year in and year out, is one of the teams that in 5A that maybe could potentially challenge West Point, in there in 5A North. So that's a great game. And then another one that maybe in years past would have been a huge game, South Panola and Clarksdale. And South Panola is not the South Panola of old, but they still have the brand recognition, right? And so does Clarksdale. Clarksdale just got a win over Charleston. And as I said last week, I think Clarksdale's going to be a problem in 4A North. They put 4A North on alert. So those are some other games that we are looking at for this week as far as week number 4. And that's a look at our third quarter. We got to say a big thank you to Hilton Garden Inn of Starkville, and that's where we're going to be staying for the state championships that first weekend in December. So if you're looking for a place to stay come state championship time, Hilton Garden Inn of Starkville is where you need to be. Well, that is a wrap on the third quarter. When we come back, we are going to continue our preview, but for some of the smaller classifications. You're listening to the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire.
When your AC goes out, your sink leaks, or your breakers are tripping, you need help fast from someone you can trust. That's why we work hard to have the fastest service times and the most knowledgeable technicians in Central Mississippi. Our promise to you, at your door in under 24. So don't wait days for others to show up. Call Environment Masters for hassle-free plumbing, electrical, and AC. At your door in under 24, because it's not cool to make you wait.
Never settle when building or remodeling your home. You may think you can't afford brick, but you can. For less than $1 a day, you can own a full brick home. The money you save on painting, heating, and cooling costs, along with lower insurance, will put money back in your pocket. Go to CherokeeBrick.com to see how affordable brick really is. Spend less, save more on the look you want. Cherokee Brick. Life's just better with brick.
Genuine Mississippi, grown and raised and crafted, made. Genuine Mississippi.
Ty Keys' first carries coming left, sees the seam, here he goes, hello, to the end zone. Touchdown, Mr. Keys, 90 yards.
It's the fourth quarter of the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire. This segment is built by Cherokee Brick, America's most trusted brick supplier. We will continue to preview some games that are coming up here in week 4, and we're going for 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A, and on into the MAIS. I'm going to start things off with a really cool game I'm excited about being on, Kosciuszko and Olive Branch. First meeting ever between Kosciuszko and Olive Branch. Whippets come in at 3-0. Olive Branch is at 1-2. They've lost to Shannon, perennial power in 4A. They got a big win over Lewisburg, 42-21, and they lost last week to another pretty good squad in Horn Lake, 32-8. Their quarterback Kylan Reed, he can really sling it there for the Conquistadors. I'm excited to say Conquistadors on the radio for one thing. That's gonna be a lot of fun to say over and over again. Tommy Calicut, really big 6'4" junior tight end, defensive end. Caleb Burgess, Nehemiah Shields. They got some dudes up there in Olive Branch. Of course, they're kind of like South Panola. They have that name recognition. Maybe not as formidable as they once were, but still a big team. And Coach Kosciuszko's got Caden Wade, who's still rocking and rolling. Had 200 and something yards, total yards this past week with a couple of touchdowns and a touchdown run. They got Brandon's favorite athlete, Jackson Schuler, the flex tight end, fullback, and just got guys all around the field. So I'm excited about this one, and that's a long trip for us. So we're going to be getting on the road early on Friday. But another one down in South Mississippi, Brandon, is Poplarville and Pearl River Central. What does Ty Keys do for an encore after 514 yards?
Well, they may give him the week off. I don't know. But Jay Beach and the boys, they travel over to Carriere, Mississippi to take on Pearl River Central. And this is going to be the game where we see what John Feaster's team's really made of. They're 3-0 on the season. They're averaging 44 points a game on offense. They're only giving up 12 points a game on defense. And with Ty Keys, as you talked about, will they be able to maintain that? And that's going to be a tough deal for them. But they've done a really good job this year. Sophomore quarterback Titus Feaster has ran this offense really well. And then they've got a tandem of backs of Caden Hinton and Darion Spikes that has done a nice job toting the ball for them. But we're going to see this week if Pearl River Central's for real. And this is going to be a great test for them.
And another game, Jake, that traditionally probably would have been on everybody's radar is Columbia and Jefferson Davis County, but Jefferson Davis County, not quite what they have been, and Columbia is I expect Columbia to be right there in the end with Poplarville in South 4A. So Columbia, Jeff Davis County, still probably a good game, but maybe lost its luster a little bit with Jeff Davis struggling a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit of a struggle there for Lance Mancuso's bunch. But, I mean, just what we talked about with Columbia earlier, getting the big win over Petal. This is a team under Chip Bilderback that's, eyeing a return to the state championship game. They would love to be playing in like everybody, but for sure, those guys, they feel like they have a legitimate shot at coming to Starkville in December. And this is a rivalry game that, between these two communities, it's a big, big deal. But when you look at it, on paper, just from an outsider's perspective, this looks like a week where Columbia will roll once again.
Noxubee County and Shannon. That's a good game there. Shannon's expected to be there in 4A, and then of course we know what Noxubee County's made the 3A championship the past 3 years. Haven't won it yet, but that's going to be a great game. A lot of athletes. I saw Shannon last year eliminated Kosciuszko from the playoffs, and they do have some guys there. So Shannon and Noxubee County could be a really good game. Jared, another one I know you were excited about was Water Valley and Eupora. Sort of a fun matchup there in North Mississippi.
Yeah, two teams not far from each other, and there's some history there between those two. It's one of those games where a lot of relatives right up the highway from one another, so it's always one of those where the two towns shut down and those two get together. That should be a lot of fun.
Macomb and Brookhaven, that's a big one. Macomb is a lot of people's pick to make some noise down in South Mississippi, and Brookhaven's coming off that upset win over Madison Central, and not too much real estate between those two. Not sure if you would want to call it too much of a rivalry, but very close ball game there. And Brandon, another one down in the smaller ranks. You got Port Gibson taking on Simmons, and Simmons is perennially in the state championship game for 1A.
Yeah, and Port Gibson just 30 minutes south of Vicksburg here, and Harry Brown and the Blue Wave are 3-0 right now. They've got a good team. Kamante Critson at quarterback. They're, like I said, the defense has only given up 11 points per ball game. Last week, LaQuentin Reynolds, he had 2 pick sixes on defense against Wilkerson County. So it's going to be the first real test we've seen for Port Gibson this year. They played really hard, but you look at Simmons, an offense that's averaging 37 points a game. Defense has only given up 10 points a game. And Tyrone Buchanan, he's what we thought he was going to be at quarterback. So, and then you look at the defensive line that they have, and Jalen Valerie is another player that Chris Brooks identified as being one of the players to watch throughout the state. So Simmons coming down to Port Gibson. And again, this just like what we talked about with Pearl River Central, this is going to be a real test for Port Gibson to see what they're made of this week.
Another fun rivalry to talk about, Aberdeen and Amory, the A game. That's a fun rivalry name, and that is a big rivalry. I mean, those two are right there together, and so that's going to be a great game this week as well. And now we'll jump over into the MAIS ranks, and we will take a look at a couple of big games there in the metro area, the Big Four, if you will, all going to be playing each other. We'll look at Jake, a big one with JA versus Hartfield. That's a really, really competitive game, I think.
Yeah, you got Hartfield, the defending, back-to-back state champions there in that classification. We're coming up against JA, a team that, hey, let's just say they have built for this moment, or they feel like they have built for this moment. And, this is one of those times where they've got to come out and prove it. They've probably got more talent, definitely on the defensive side. But Hartfield is a team that continues to fight and claw and scratch, in a great game against Columbia a couple weeks ago. They will not be intimidated. This will be a great football game, and this could potentially be a precursor to the state championship game in that league. Now, coming up here, Jared will talk about Prep and MRA. They could say the same thing, but I think this is going to be a fun football game to follow and a fun football game to watch between these two. If I was just edging, and we may have this in the pick'em, I have no idea, but maybe edge a little bit of JA, but we'll discuss that if it is in the pick'em.
Yeah, and as Jake mentioned, Jared, you got Prep and MRA, the other two of the Big Four, squaring off this weekend.
Yeah, Prep 2-2. Don't be fooled by the record. We talked about that. I think a team that's on the upward trajectory, and MRA's 3-1, guys. They should be 4-0. They have been rolling since they lost a close one to Ravenwood, who They felt like MRA thought they should have won that ball game, went up early in it and kind of gave it away at the end. But MRA 212 yards through the air with Sam Stockett, 160 on the ground. Stockett's completing 67% of his passes, 608 yards, 5 touchdowns, and got a couple of really good backs. Colson O'Kane's averaging 8 yards a carry, 7 touchdowns, and Jackson Jenkins compliments him very well. And then you talk about prep. Luke Essery, 190 yards through the air as their quarterback, getting more comfortable with his reps. And they're not bad on the ground either, 168 yards they average running the football. Wade Smith is averaging 12 yards a carry as their lead back. And then Thomas Oswalt does a very good job as running back 2 with those 8 yards a carry. This is going to be a really good football game. I think for prep on the upward trajectory, they would much rather have this ball game at home instead of having to go over to Madison and play MRA. That's always a tough place to play. But I do think this one's going to be a lot closer than the experts think.
Another MAIS game to take a look at. Maybe not in the top ranks, but going down to East Rankin and Lamar. And Brandon, Lamar's had a pretty good season so far, but they're going to be taking on East Rankin, and should be a pretty good matchup.
Yeah, Jacob Land has done a great job over at Lamar. He's got a good quarterback. We talked about him. Sullivan Reed, 500 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions on the season. Got a good-looking prospect at receiver. Jalen Trotter over there, around 6'4", 190 pounds. He's already had 5 touchdowns on the season out at the receiving spot. Just a good-looking prospect. This is a Lamar team that's averaging 35 points a game, and on defense they're giving up 21. But they're going up against a team that is really flying under the radar. Teddy Dice is one of my dear friends, and when he took over at East Rankin, which, by the way, I think the folks at Pelahatchie hit the gold mine bringing him in. He's won titles at Lumberton. He was phenomenal over at Philadelphia, and then he won a title at McGee back in 2020. Teddy is an air raid type guy. He wants to throw it all over the yard, but he came in and he realized what he had with his team, and they broke it down to more of a wing tee variation type run, and it's been successful. They're 3-1 on the season. They're surprising some folks. Braden Loper, a senior, 97 carries for 598 yards with 11 touchdowns. They did lose last week to Starkville Academy, but this is an offense that's averaging 33 points a game, and defensively they're giving up 19, so they're playing really good ball. This is going to be a great matchup between these two before they get into, deeper into region play.
Well, that's a look at our preview for the 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A, and MAIS. Some games that, we are excited about this week. And remember that we want you to send us your plays of the week, whether you have a great radio call, video stream call, or even if you're a player and you don't have anyone that does your broadcast, but you can still get the clip from Huddle. Send it to us because we want to show it in the podcast, throughout the podcast. You might have been hearing or seeing plays depending on, whichever platform, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it may be. But send us your plays of the week, and we definitely want to highlight broadcasters and the athletes that make those plays. Well, that does wrap up regulation in our fourth quarter. But as always, every game here has overtime on the Varsity Voices podcast. So we are going to take a break. When we come back, we will jump into overtime. You're listening to the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C-Spire.
At Fowler GMC, our customers have been our priority for over 70 years. That same dedication happens today as we offer a wide range of options to cater to every taste and budget. Whether you're looking for a luxurious and versatile SUV or a powerful truck, we have it all. Our knowledgeable team is here to assist you every step of the way, and we are committed to providing fast and courteous service. Visit us today and experience the difference for yourself. Trust, service, and selection. Fowler GMC.
3rd and 6 from the 40-yard line.
Sure you're ready for this?
He takes a snap, drops back.
What's the right situation for a flea flicker?
They should have been in nickel defense.
There's a nickel and a dime?
Now for a proper bull rush start from 3-point stance.
What a disastrous play call.
Ready or not, here we go.
Hey, Dad.
You can call me Coach.
It's amazing what C-Spire's nationwide 5G network can connect. C-Spire, inspired by you.
Elegance is in the details. Pine Straw America's premium longleaf pine straw subscription ensures your landscape stays pristine season after season. Precision edging, flawless installation, because your home deserves nothing less. Pine Straw America.
Welcome back to the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire. We get free football or free podcast. Well, one of the two. Either way, this overtime period is brought to you by Fowler GMC and the drive to the championships. Fowler GMC in Pearl built a reputation on trust, serving Mississippi since 1953. And so the drive to the championship, it's already started, and the championships are going to be in Starkville on that first weekend in December. But as we always do in the overtime period, we're going to make our picks, our state champ 7, pick them each week. And first things first, we got to say hats off to our guest picker this past week, Briggs Hobson, going 7-0. 7-0, along with Brandon Davis. They both had perfect weeks. So what's about those Vicksburg guys? They got a little something going on down there, going 7-0. Little something.
We know football. That's all I'll say.
That's what it is. They know football down there in the River City. But taking a look at the standings,
Briggs is a great guy. I don't know about Davis, but Briggs is great.
Yeah, Briggs is fantastic. I'm not.
We love Briggs Hobson, and like I said, he made all of us look bad going 7-0. But Jared went 6-1, so he's still in the lead. Jared is in the lead at 18-3. Then it's Brandon Davis coming in second at 17-4. In third place is Jake Wimberly and the Hair at 14-7. Caleb Hamill and myself, we're still tied up at 12-9. So still anybody's a good week and a bad week. Still change the events here, but we will go ahead and take a look at our picks. And it is Oxford at Tupelo. And Jared, since you're winning, you get to go first. But it looks like you have a guest that is going to maybe be helping you with your picks this week.
This is a special guest, the most special guest of the whole season. This is Ramsey. It is her 7th birthday. And she said, Daddy, I want to get on TV. She's been asking for weeks. I was going to say, well, sweetie, we'll do it in a few weeks. I was like, you know what? It is your birthday. So we're missing bedtime a little bit late. Yeah. So can you say hello?
Hi.
Hey, Ramsey. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. What do you say?
Thank you.
So here's the deal. I thought Davis had to go first because he won last week. So we're just doing overall has to go first. Okay. All right. I see how it is.
I think that's right, isn't it? I mean,
we just make up the rules. That's fine.
It doesn't matter. Whatever y'all want to do.
Whatever. Right. So Golden Wave. Okay. So Ramsey and Jared are taking the Golden Wave of Tupelo. Brandon, how about you?
Taking Tupelo as well. Defense wins on the road. Tupelo defense giving up 10 points a game. Jared said it. I think Oxford is maybe one of the better teams nobody's talking about, but this Tupelo team is just too good, and they're going to bring crowd with them to Oxford, so I'm taking the Golden Wave.
Jake, what do you think? Oxford or Tupelo?
Yeah, I'm going to go Tupelo. They're going to run the football. That's what they've done. Great defensive play, run the football until somebody can show they can stop it. Give me Tupelo.
All right, Caleb Hamill, what are you thinking about Oxford or Tupelo?
Oxford's much improved, but hey, Ramsey knows what she's talking about. Tupelo.
And I'm personally going to take Tupelo as well. We're going to have another one of those weeks where half our picks are going to be the same. It's going to be kind of boring, but we're going to keep it rolling here. And Ocean Springs and Picayune. This is an interesting one here because this is two very, very good ball clubs. And Jared and Ramsey, what do you think about Ocean Springs and Picayune?
You know, this is one of the matchups that I'm most excited about in the state, just the way these two teams play football. And I love a good defensive matchup. I'm old school, but we're going to go with
Greyhounds.
The Greyhounds. So Jared and Ramsey are taking Ocean Springs. Brandon, what about you?
Taking Ocean Springs as well. I like their defense as well. They're giving up 10 points a game. Offense is 28 points a game. Picayune has done well, but they have had to close games out toward the end running the football. I think This week they have a defense in Ocean Springs that can counter that, so I'm going to take the Greyhounds in an upset.
Wimberly, how about you?
Yeah, looking at this thing, I Picayune, you want to maybe take Picayune and give them a shot here. I mean, they played Gulfport, North Shore, and then Biloxi. They've had some close wins. And, I'm going to go ahead and take them. Give me Picayune this week. I think they get another close win this week. I mean, I can see Ocean Springs winning the football game, but give me that run first heavy, line of scrimmage team and Picayune to win.
All right, Caleb Hamill, what are you taking, the Greyhounds or the Maroon Tide?
Greyhounds. Picayune's much improved. I think they're likely a candidate for 6A South, but Ocean Springs is going to be the strong one.
All right, and I am going to go with Jake in this one. I'm going to take Picayune. I like the Maroon Tide and that powerful rushing attack and what Coach Stogner has, even though the Greyhounds and my Whippets, obviously very closely related. I'm taking the Picayune Maroon Tide. Another one that we've talked about in our podcast today is Grenada at Cleveland Central game. Not too far, two teams not too far from each other, and it's a 6A and a 5A, both expected to make some runs in their respective classes. So, Jared and Ramsey, what do we think? Grenada or Cleveland Central?
Grenada, the defending champs. Cleveland Central, one of those teams. We talked about Oxford not getting a lot of love at 3-0. Cleveland Central's, this was a dark horse team we had. Watch out. This is kind of my upset alert. Watch out for Grenada, but we're going to go with
the Chargers.
Okay, so Ramsey and Jared thinking that it's going to be Grenada Chargers. Brandon, how about you?
Cleveland Central on offense averaging 33 points a game, defense 19. They are at home. I like Michael Fair, though. The Grenada defense only giving up 6 points. I'm going to take the Chargers of Grenada.
Yeah, likewise. Give me the Grenada Chargers on this. Cleveland Central, a good football team, but I think Grenada's just has continued to play at a higher level than most people on their schedule, and they'll do that again this week.
Caleb Hamill, your thoughts, Grenada or Cleveland Central?
Chargers by 6.
Right, and I'm going to stick with Grenada as well. I like the Chargers. They just do what they do. It's sort of their whole stick. So I like Grenada. And here's a fun one. Up in the not the metro area, the Golden Triangle area, Starkville and Louisville. We got the Yellow Jackets and the Wildcats. Another one of those that could be pretty close. So Jared and Ramsey, Starkville, Louisville.
Yeah, I mean, the two greatest programs that we crowned on our all-time countdown, right? That no love lost between these two. Look, I mean, I know Starkville, they have that potent offense, and Louisville took a little while to get their offense rolling. They did bring it out at a good time against a very good Holmes County Central team. What a ball game that was. But, until Starkville can fix the defense and show it consistently, we're going to go with
the Wildcats.
The Wildcats of Louisville. Brandon, let's hear your take.
Man, I had to flip a coin on this one. This is really too close to call. The only thing that I'm going to say, I think I'm giving Starkville the nod because they're playing at home. Also, last week they went back on the road against Blue Meridian and got a big win over the Wildcats down there. So Louisville had trouble with Holmes County Central. They did get the win, but they've got to travel to Starkville. That's always a raucous place. I'm going to take Starkville in this game.
Give me Louisville. Give me the Wildcats. I'm like Jared. I think until Starkville can show me they got that defense fixed. I mean, what's the old mantra? The O sells tickets to D wins championships. And look,
right.
Louisville. Give me the Wildcats. They have a little bit better defense.
I like what Brandon said. Starkville's tough at home. Give me Starkville Yellow Jackets.
All right, and here in Kosciuszko, my folks might get mad at me. I might have for sale signs in my yard in the morning. But I'm taking Louisville. I like the Wildcats. I like what they do on defense. Zayden Jernigan, you know what he can do running the football. But yeah, I like the Wildcats in a close one. All right, another one, fun one. Mize at Raleigh, two powerhouses just like right down the road from each other. So Jared and Ramsey, Mize, Raleigh.
Yeah, Mize was one of those sleeper teams, and these two know each other very well. Raleigh, I know, Breck, you've been very high on them. I'm very high on them. But with that said, we will go with
the Lions.
There we go, the Lions. So the Jared and Ramsey taking Raleigh. Brandon, what about you?
Ron Higdon does a great job down at Raleigh. Mice is one of those teams. They're probably surprised that they're 1-2. They've had 2 close losses to PCS and then McGee last week, but too much Raleigh defense, only giving up 12 points a game. I'm taking the Lions of Raleigh.
All right, Jake, how about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay with Raleigh myself. I just feel like they're playing at a much better clip right now than Mize is, and I think that they're just a little bit better football team. Give me Raleigh in this game.
Caleb Hamill, let's turn it over to you. Mize and Raleigh.
Raleigh, no question. Give it to me.
All right, and as Jared said, I am high on the Raleigh Lions, so I will take Raleigh as well in this ball game. And we come to another one of those fun rivalry games, Bogachita and Lloyd Star. They call this one the Possum Bowl. Is that right? That's the Possum Bowl.
Yeah.
We had the Skunk Bowl a few weeks ago. Now we got the Possum Bowl. Fun ball game. Jared and Ramsey, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, great rivalry game in South Mississippi. I'm glad we got this one in for the namesake alone. And, Lloyd Star had high expectations coming to the year. I know Bogachita hasn't been the year they've wanted to. And with that said, we like stars. We like to play with stars. So we'll go with Lloyd Star.
Yeah, I like Lloyd Star. I hate to pick against B.J. Smith-Hart down at Bogachita, but I'm going to have to go with Lloyd Star. Too much Jordan Keys, a very talented team down there in Lincoln County. So give me Lloyd Star.
Yeah, I'm gonna make the trifecta here. Give me Lloyd Star. I just think they're way more put together than the other team here than Bogachita. I think Lloyd Star puts Bogachita in a world they don't want to be in. They get the win easily.
Caleb Hamill, how about you?
I'm a Lincoln County guy myself. Lloyd Star, they've got it cooking.
And I am going to flip things here. I'm going to take Bogachita. The Bobcats, because for one, got to flip some things around, right? Make sure our picks aren't all the same. And
have a chance.
My boy Easton Sarton, he is a running back for Holmes Community College, and he is a great running back, and he is a Bogachita Bobcat. That's one of those things I love to say on the radio. It just rolls off the tongue. Here comes Easton Sarton, the Bogachita Bobcat. Great. This is fun to say, so we're going with Bogachita on this one. And our final one, this is going to be a tough one. Calhoun City and Senatobia. Calhoun City is a 1A team. Senatobia is 4A. Calhoun City's been punching above its weight class all year long. So Jared and Ramsey, Calhoun City, Senatobia.
Look, Calhoun City, man, I mean, you better watch out if you're Senatobia. I mean, they've proven what they can do. It's a very good football team, a lot of veterans back. Senatobia undefeated as well. We're going to have to go with
Warriors.
The Warriors of Senatobia. All right. So, Brandon, how about you?
I like the Pittman duo at Calhoun City, Demarius and Harlan Pittman. I like them a lot. They've shown what they can do. Calhoun City averaging 49 points per game on offense. But D. Watson, our player of the week last week for Senatobia, Carter Norris doing a great job up there. They're only giving up 17 points a game on defense. Calhoun City has to travel up there to them, so give me Senatobia.
Yep, give me Senatobia. They're going to have too many guys, too many dudes, right? It becomes a numbers game at this point. I mean, I think Calhoun City's starting 22. They'll be fine, but it's just when you start having to rotate guys in and get, different guys in, Calhoun City doesn't have the depth. Give me Senatobia.
Caleb Hamill, Calhoun City or Senatobia?
Yeah, I'm with everybody else, not just because you're picking Senatobia, but because I do think that the Warriors are a much tougher team than Winona was against Calhoun City. That was a tight game last week, so give me the Warriors.
I'm going to stick with Senatobia as well. I got a chance to talk to D. Watson last week in our player interview, and really like him and like what the Warriors have. I saw them last year. Kosciuszko played them first round of the playoffs. They got some guys, as Jake said, they got some dudes there in Senatobia, and D. Watson. Really impressed with him. Not only did he win, player of the week, he is a state champ in hurdles, and he came in third place in another hurdles. So yeah, that's the kind of athletes they have at Senatobia. I like the Warriors in this one. So that's a look at our picks. They are brought to you by Pine Straw of America. You can keep your yard looking perfect all year long with Pine Straw of America, experts in premium long leaf pine straw. You can join the exclusive subscription program and enjoy fresh, flawless straw on schedule every season. Pine Straw of America, fresh year round. You can check out 4.9 out of 5 reviews on Google. Well, that's a wrap here for this week on the Varsity Voices podcast. And we got to say a big thank you to Ramsey for joining us. I mean, you know what I say whenever kids come on the show, they come on the breakfast show with me. I say, you can be cute, but you can't be too cute because I don't want you to take my job. And I think Ramsey can't help but be too cute. So, I mean, if I'm not here next week, guys, it was all Ramsey. It was all her. So we appreciate you for coming on and joining us. And happy birthday, Ramsey.
What do you say? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, that does indeed wrap up this week's episode of the Varsity Voices podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast, and give us a rating. You know, we would like a 5-star rating, but, you know, be honest, but we would definitely like it if you gave us a good rating. And so for our entire crew, Jake Wimberly, Jared Schatz, Brandon Davison, Caleb Hamill in our ears and taking care of us. This is Breck Riley. You've been listening to the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C-Spire.
Genuine Mississippi, grown and raised and crafted, made. Genuine Mississippi.